Kia ora everyone, welcome. And first, before I begin, I would first like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Boon Warren and the Wurundjeri peoples of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. So my name is Mandi Buswell, and I'm a solution architect with Red Hat based in New Zealand, so I'm also an international speaker. And I've been in IT since I was 19. And this is COBOL, and it's the first language that I actually got paid to program in. I am a Kiwi Canuck, so I'm born in New Zealand, but I was naturalised Canadian, so I've got 2 passports. And like the first family of New Zealand, I actually work full-time, and my husband stays home and looks after the family in the household. Now, when I'm not at work, I spend most of my time at this place and with these 2 lovely, jubbly boys. So today I'm going to talk to you about enterprise integration. Now, this is something that I hear in my travels a lot, not normally when I'm talking to enterprise architects, but other people outside of that area of specialization. People say to me, is enterprise integration still really important? Do we need that in this modern world of containers and microservices? Well, I'm going to talk to you today about why it is and why it actually needs to evolve to stay important and valuable for the organization. So this is a survey that Red Hat undertook last year with a company called Qualtrics, and it asked the question about what were your 3 top priority fundings for the next 12 months. Now, this is actual money being dedicated to something, not wish lists. So you can see from this that actually, yes, enterprise integration is important because it's number 3 on the list. But we don't really know why it's number 3 on the list here. Could it be because you've got to maintain license renewals and upgrades, or for staffing resources for this kind of specialized technology? What we do know, though, from trends is that likelihood is that 80% of that spend will be maintaining and keeping the lights on. And so only 20% will be available to do anything new. And the likelihood is that that new stuff will be band-aids on technical debt. It's probably not going to be around modernizing your integration and supporting those modern application developments that we've been hearing about today at the forum. Unless, of course, you've already talked to Red Hat. But wouldn't it be great, though, if the reason behind that chart was because enterprise integration is actually one of the top enablers for digital transformation in your organization? So it's one of those key components to deliver business value, IT agility, and innovation. Now, if these are the principles that are in your architecture today, then your traditional integration architectures, like an ESB, are going to struggle to keep up. How do you do all of that out of a monolith? Now, I'm not saying that that rock is wrong. That strong, solid foundation that you have has a use case in many places, right? My colleague actually said to me when I was preparing for this talk, he said that the fine art of integration has kind of been disrupted by DevOps and Agile. And I think that's because most people think enterprise integration equals ESB. That art of enterprise integration equals, it's being done on a medium that's the ESB. But the 2 are not the same. So imagine if you could take those great principles and all the great qualities of that rock, but bring them forward to where integration is strategic and agile and creative and cool. So it's a place where enterprise integration, containers, microservices, and the cloud are all mutually inclusive. Now, just because you're doing this is what I hear a lot too. We're doing all this, we don't need integration anymore. Well, it doesn't matter how modern those apps that you're building are, they all need to connect to be useful. So think about this, right? Your company has adopted a new container platform. Now, that might be OpenShift or DIY Kubernetes, and you're really excited about it. And why not, right? Because you get a fresh start with all that greenfields development, and you've done away with waterfall processes, and you get to experience all the speed and agility, right, that those modern ways of working allow you. So you've got the first couple of applications out the door, the POCs are done, and everyone's excited, and you get executive buy-in. Yes! And now this is the strategic direction for your company moving forward. And you have to work out how you're going to make that happen. So in order to achieve that, what you need to do is start connecting the real systems that drive your business. And then suddenly, if you're not careful, you end up, again, with that big conflated monolith. and those old, slow-moving processes of your legacy systems. It's like water scrum full, right? You didn't want to be there. And all those benefits of the flexibility, the scalability, and the agility have just got lost in the process. So Red Hat's answer to this problem is agile integration. So this is where we kind of allow you to compartmentalize the integration and connectivity logic into enterprise systems, and services become independent, and then they communicate seamlessly through open APIs and events. It's kind of like saying agile integration is the art of enterprise integration on a medium of containers, microservices, and the cloud. So let's have a look now at those elements of modern application development and how they connect. So first of all, APIs, those long-lived, stable connection points that facilitate both your greenfields development and legacy as well. Events. So modern application development really sees everything as a series of events, whether that's some milk being taken out of a smart fridge, or it's a new provision of a mobile phone on a network. Think about systems that can't actually talk directly to one another and how they can actually communicate by using events instead. Think about how you may be able to choreograph your microservices using events. And of course, we still have those strong foundation of the integration patterns. Now, they've of course moved on a lot since the book was first published in 2003. But things like cloud to ground, all the new SaaS offerings that weren't there in 2003, and all the different kind of cloud patterns like hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, cloud agnostic, cloud specific, everything. Galactic cloud I like to talk about. One day there will be a galactic cloud. And emerging as we speak, data patterns. So I don't know if it's just because I've been doing this since I was 19 and it was kind of a long time ago, but data is actually one of the things I get really excited about. I was actually an Oracle database architect at one point in my life. But The Economist wrote this article and it read, "The world's most valuable resource is no longer oil, but data." And they continue to say that to truly maximize the value of data, organizations must rethink how they create, edit, and store it. So with so much data available and so much information that can be garnered from it and so many things that you can actually do to get business value from it, any integration architecture must facilitate the ability to connect and integrate that data. So bring all of those together, run them distributed on a container platform, which you can run anywhere on any infrastructure that you like, and there you have an agile integration architecture that aligns to all of your digital architecture objectives and gives IT the ability to move at speed, to be agile, to be valuable, to be creative, and to be cool again. So I'm just going to sidestep 1 second and give you a little bit of a definition on what do we mean by multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. So you would have heard that all day today already. So first of all, multi-cloud. This is where you are using many different clouds, but the key difference is they're not connected to one another. So your workloads may be running out in AWS or maybe on your own OpenStack platform or Google, wherever they are. But they're not really, they're independent. You've got them there because you want those services of that cloud or the services of that cloud. Hybrid cloud, on the other hand, is defined as a combination of public and private clouds, but they have some kind of interconnectivity between them. So workload portability, integration, and importantly, some kind of orchestration and unified management across those clouds. And that's the key difference between multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. When we talk about integration, we need to add one more thing to this, because you need to be able to ensure that whatever integration platform that you have has the flexibility and expandability to be able to connect to all of those upstream and downstream systems that you're going to need on this hybrid cloud. And also, you're going to have to think about some of those applications may need to communicate with one another, like inter-application communication across those clouds. And the other thing that you need to think about too, which Adam spoke earlier just before, is those different personas. The different personas that will do integration as part of their day job now. It's not just going to be the specialized Java devs. There is a whole bunch of other people that would be doing integration. And this is what you get when you adopt an agile integration architecture approach. So that's it on paper, and that's kind of like the architect's view of it. So let's talk a little bit about technology that we have to implement that. So Red Hat integration is one of the Red Hat middleware bundles, and it's a set of unified and curated integration and messaging technologies that help you technically deliver agile integration. So these all run on OpenShift, and this is the key component that gives you that flexibility and the ability to run those workloads anywhere on any infrastructure that you want. So immediately, by putting our integration logic and running it on OpenShift, not only do we get the ability to scale it and have all of the kind of container orchestration features that you get with OpenShift, but suddenly you get all of the hybrid cloud features and the multi-cloud features that comes with OpenShift. Now, one of the things that's important about running them on OpenShift as well is that it's the same code no matter where you run it. So you don't have to have one version that's running on one cloud provider, one version that's running on your VMware, VMs locally in your data center. It's the same version. The same version of OpenShift runs on my desktop and my laptop as what I can run in AWS or Azure. So for APIs, the APIs that you're attaching onto all of your microservices, really to have business value, you need to be able to secure them, share them, monitor them, and analyze them. And for that, 3-scale API management. Of course, EIP, so at the core, our pattern-based integration approach. And these patterns evolve as well, as I said, in particular to new patterns such like data patterns. But that is Red Hat Fuse. To implement your event-orientated and real-time streaming-based applications, that is AMQ, Red Hat AMQ, and importantly, Red Hat AMQ Streams, which is Apache Kafka. And finally, data. So really exposing the data and being able to tap into all of that liquid gold in your organization with Red Hat data virtualization and change data capture. And I'll talk about those two elements in a little bit. So firstly, let me tell you about my customer, Spark. So Spark, does anyone know Spark New Zealand? Yes, cool. I'm sure some people here probably worked for them. Spark have started their Agile integration journey about the same time as they did a company-wide Agile transformation. They literally went from Friday they were not Agile, Monday they were. That was how transformative it was. Everything from the top down, so procurement, legal, everything, all the way down to their development teams and their 2 weekly sprints went Agile. Now, they have now completed their migration of over 2,000 use cases from a legacy application, WebSphere, over to Fuse on OpenShift, and that runs actually on-premise on VMware. Now, I want to tell you the story about the day that they realized the value from having changed to this Agile integration architecture. It was the day they launched. In fact, the morning of their launch. So every month, Spark does launches, official launches. So this month was the launch of the first 7 microservices running on Fuse and OpenShift. And I went in at 4 a.m. in the morning to experience the fun of launch. And everyone had been there overnight, and all of the other teams as well in Spark who were launching were there as well. When I got in, they'd actually found 2 bugs during testing overnight. Just things that, manual testers hadn't done before, but it was the last test, so they decided, just click through, I'll leave this field blank. And that leaving it blank caused a bug. So they identified the bug, they fixed the bug, they rolled a new image, they put it through their CI/CD process, they released that into pre-production, they did their testing, and they got the green light to go ahead and continue their launch. Another team, who also found a bug, they could not launch. They had to roll back, which was still a mission to roll back. So immediately on that day, they realized that value that they'd gotten from Agile integration. And not only that, but during the day, they were able to tweak the performance and roll out some new images during the day. So they could release suddenly during the day. They didn't have to wait another month before they could do a release. Now, Spark, I've been kind of traveling around the world talking about Spark's journey, and it's actually available as a webinar which you can download. So if you're interested, you can go and have a look at that from the Red Hat site. They did some really interesting things with how they structured their teams, and some things they did that was, maybe not exactly the strict agile principles of team structures, but it's quite interesting, so check that out. So Spark is just, of course, one example. We have many other examples. And, BP, who were Innovation Award winner last year, Emirates as well, Ally Financial, and many others. And actually, Red Hat coined the term agile integration some 3 years ago. So we've actually had 3 years of customer success stories, 3 years of features and feedback going into the product and doing more iterations and releases. So you can check out all of those customer success stories here, and like I said, the webinar is available to download. Okay, so more and more markets, I guess, are really characterized by these competitive digital services, and integration is seen as their strongest weapon. So it's an essential capability as well to connect information across hybrid cloud. And of course, as we've said, we need to really revise those integration approaches. So Red Hat has agile integration to connect APIs, events, EIPs, and data all together. And those integration capabilities run anywhere that OpenShift runs. So now I'd like to just dive into the technology itself and just talk about what's kind of changed in the last 12 months. And I'm just going to highlight the things that I find particularly exciting. Now, all of these things are available now, maybe in different stages. So some of them are GA, some of them are tech preview, and some of them are dev preview, but everything that is here is available now. Okay, so first of all, everything is certified to run on OpenShift 4. Now, what that also gives you is everything has an operator. So you've heard a lot about the operators already today, so everything in that Red Hat integration bundle has an operator to install it. Now, the operators are all certified on 4.x, and most of them are also certified on 3.11. So if you're running 3.11 still, you can still take advantage of operators and the Agile, the Red Hat integration bundle. Multi-persona integration. So I am, like I said, an old developer. I'm not a Java dev, though. I'm a Java hack. I can hack any Java code, but I'm never going to create some stuff from scratch. I'm never going to be a deep dive Java developer. But I really understand business logic, and I can rock a GUI. So I'm one of these people that need that drag and drop interface that allows me to do a certain point and get started, and then I also want to be able to dive deep underneath or even hand it back to the person who is the specialized Java dev and have them do more stuff for me. So there's more and more, every release that we have, this multi-persona that the people like me that maybe just kind of want to use the GUI and drag and drop and stuff, more and more features become available for that persona, as well as the continued investment in the Java development, so the integration with IntelliJ and other Eclipse-based IDEs, etc. Serverless. So Tom mentioned serverless. So serverless, the idea that, when your integration services are running, they're running and consuming resources, and that's not cloud native, that's not cloud friendly, right? So you want to be able to just have those integrations be in use and consuming those resources when they're needed. So we need serverless to do that. And the project underneath serverless for Fuse is called Camel K. It's about a year old now, but it's getting massive amounts of feedback and focus, and it's really one of the most exciting things to happen in the Camel project for quite some time. And lastly, in this highlights, Red Hat managed integration. So if you like the idea of the full stack of technology, but you don't like the idea of running it yourself, Red Hat managed integration is actually a hosted offering from Red Hat that runs on OpenShift dedicated, and it means that we fully host and manage that whole integration suite for you. So you don't have to worry about any of the maintenance of it, you just get to use it. So let's look at 3-scale and some highlights in 3-scale. So Tom already showed you some things about the end-to-end life cycle of APIs. So it's not just about managing those APIs anymore, it's also thinking about how do you create them, how do you design them, how do you mock them, how they go through the entire life cycle. So the updates through with 3-scale API management really taking into consideration that full end-to-end life cycle of API development. Along with that, thinking about how APIs running on OpenShift are automatically discoverable by the manager. So this is really cool for those people who may have used 3Scale in the past, where now if I have an integration running on Fuse and it's deployed on OpenShift, 3Scale can automatically discover that, and I can just, from a drop-down, click it and start doing my configuration. Really awesome. Now the other thing, Tom talked about Istio, or OpenShift Service Mesh, earlier. And one of the things you may have noticed is that there's a lot of similarities between what you need to configure for those interconnections between what you might need to configure for managing and securing APIs. And so what we've done is we've created this Istio 3Scale mixer, which allows you to manage the configuration of the connections in Istio through 3Scale. So AMQ, so the biggest one here, I guess, is the GA of Apache Kafka with AMQ streams. So I can ask the question, who's using Kafka? There's usually lots of hands on that one. Yep. Yeah, I guess this is probably having a supported version of Kafka was one of the most awaited things in the AMQ updates. AMQ Online as well, we released AMQ Online each version. That is the drag and drop interface for creating message queues and topics. Now, I talked a bit about when you have a hybrid cloud, and some of those applications that are deployed on multiple clouds in a hybrid environment, meaning they connect to one another, maybe they need to interconnect. Those applications may be needing to interconnect. And one of those is actually message brokers, so peer-to-peer real-time messaging across hybrid clouds. And that's achieved with AMQ Interconnect, or I like to call it the AMQ Mesh. So that is brand new. And it means that you can do things like fault tolerance and cloud bursting, etc., across that hybrid cloud. Fuse, so two big things here I talked about already, serverless Fuse, so that's Camel K, and Fuse Online. So Fuse Online is your drag and drop interface, and I can tell you I personally had to deliver a POC using Fuse Online. There was me, who rocks the GUI, right, and with a hardcore Java dev, and between the two of us we were able to achieve amazing things within 24 hours, and it literally kind of was 24 hours sitting there together back to back, building this proof of concept for a customer. So it was really powerful in being able to give tooling to someone like me who understands the logic and understood what needed to be achieved, and hand that off to that developer who could do some harder stuff underneath. And lastly, data virtualization and change data capture. So 2 patterns for integration of data. The first one is kind of a traditional pattern, data virtualization. It's where you create a virtual view of multiple disparate databases. So whether that's Hadoop, or it's a SQL database, a NoSQL database, a flat file, for example, but you can create like a SQL accessible view of all of that data. That's data virtualization. But the other pattern is where you use events, so using Kafka to actually, where the databases kind of they put messages on an event stream to say that things have happened. So those CRUD, the CRUD stuff, so create, replace, update, delete, those are being put onto the message queue, and then the things that are interested in that pull that off and do something with it. And so that's becoming a very, very strong pattern when we're looking at data and integration. So change data capture is a new project called Debezium, and that basically has agents that watch your configured databases, and will put messages on a Kafka queue for other things to consume. So ultimately, agile integration really allows the IT department to move at the pace of business and really become that fundamental and instrumental part of your company's digital transformation. Okay, so thank you very much. Next steps. We do these great discovery sessions. There's lots of learning and training available. We have an integration booth out the back, so please come visit us. And yeah, if you want to check out, know anything more about Spark or anything I've talked today, just find me. Cool. Kia ora, ngā mihi nui, kia ora, thank you.